Alrighty, after hours and hours of dilly-dallying trying to figure out how I can set this fucking mic up, I can at least record a video that is a breakdown of a route that I've been building here. So, welcome on into the video. I am Rocky Mountain Division. Appreciate you watching and spending your time watching my YouTube videos on this Train simulator game that I spend far too much time creating random content for. So, beside my phone going off, here we go. So I'm just going to give a little bit of context here. I do not know how to edit videos. I'm garbage when it comes to fucking doing it. I barely even used fucking Microsoft Windows video editor back when that was still a thing on Windows. And beyond that, I've used like free trials of editing programs every once in a while, and for the most part I just get biffed on the subscriptions, so that's always fucking nice. But aside from that, mainly because of it, I've decided to go on ahead and just freewheel a video. I am going to spit this video out in one take as best I can and see what comes of it. It may not be the best thing ever, but hell, it might be trash, but we'll see what the end result is. My main idea is just to get word out there that this is in production and that I do have hopes for it. So I want to at least start, I guess, advertising it in a sense, perhaps. I don't really know if that's the right term for it, but in another sense, I think huge way I'd like to format the way I'm going to run this video is very much just a model railroad breakdown. So advertising it in the sense of a model railroad breakdown. And this is currently a work in progress. This is far from complete. I've got areas that look like this and areas that are pretty much just ground textures and terrain. Of course, this route has been in production for a very long time. I mean, for as small of a route as it is, only about 5 baseboards worth of actual or runnable route, it's been in production for, god damn near 5, maybe 6 years now. I don't entirely know, but it's been a long fucking time. I started this back when I was in trade school, and I just needed something to do to kind of escape my living room, essentially. Just try to keep myself kept up in my bedroom away from my roommates as best as possible. And this just happened to be what came to mind. And there were a lot of things that inspired it. And I think at the time, Train Boy 1, Dan, he was creating his Colorado and Southern consolidations, and I wanted a place to run them. And I didn't really have any good narrow gauge routes that I had going on, at least at the time, and I didn't have any saved. So I kind of had this idea rolling around in the back of my mind for quite a long time, but I didn't really act on it until I was in college. And the biggest catalyst in making the decisions I made to make this was Scratchy had released his Dotson Junction route, and I was extremely inspired by the fact that he was able to create such an enjoyable route in only 4 baseboards, and that was something that I saw as like a person who had been moving on to transdem created routes, and I looked back and I was like, man, I should really just give that a shot, see what happens, see what I can create, just with my own skill set that I've gained through years of using the terrain modification tools in Trainz. I mean, it's definitely a skill set that comes with a lot of practice. So I was just like, fuck it, it's a good time, let's try this out. So, main ingredients, let's say, in this route were, I wanted somewhere to run this Colorado and Southern locomotive, but I also really liked Prowler's Denver and Rio Grande stuff. Just his general K27s, K28s, K36s. They're all great models for as old as they are. And Togogs eventually came along as well, about the same time as I was creating this route, at least K28s and the like. A lot of his other content was around long before. But I was largely inspired to create something that combined elements of my favorite parts of the Denver and Rio Grande system, at least the narrow gauge side of it, and Colorado and Southern I largely fancied as well, with large harkening back to Florence and Cripple Creek. I have a little connection to that, but that's at least a personal mental connection with through the tism to the Florence and Cripple Creek, even though it really doesn't affect me much. in effect, I would say Colorado and Southern or Denver and Rio Grande have had largely more effect on my life, if anything. But let's move on and start kind of going into these ingredients, huh? So I wanted to combine the two. And I was always a very large fan of at least the photos of the chili line that were circulating around the time that I was in college. Hence where this scene came from, and where the Santa Fe inspired, now named OK Owenye, which I believe is also in the Tewa language of the Pueblo people of New Mexico. Sorry for that tongue twister there. I just can't fucking combine the words, apparently. But I decided to use the name just because it was, a native name, and it would at least kind of, I wouldn't be using directly Santa Fe. I had something pretty damn close, but at least adjacent, name-wise. But this scene was largely inspired by, of course, I don't know the names of the churches. I had seen it mentioned in a post somewhere in a Discord, and it's like Guadalupe Street. I feel like I'm going to mention that wrong. It's been a very long time since I've had any knowledge of what streets these are, or what the church name is, or hell, what creek this is supposed to be. I built this all in college, or in trade school, about 5 years ago. So my mental memory of any of that is pretty slim to none. But anyways, I'll move on from here. Of course, I've kind of flushed out a lot of this town so far. It's the main hub on the railroad. It has the shops. It's got, turntable, all the good stuff, and a pretty sizable town. It was always kind of the main town on the route, supposed to be the main hub of activity. And obviously I kept it as such because I wasn't going to just go changing the plan just for fun there. So just in a last minute attempt to make this look good. So we're going to move on to more of the chili line inspired parts of this. We've got the grade over, I still don't have a name for this hill, so forgive me. I don't really have an example there for a name on that, but we'll move into the flatter sections of the chili line and explain array this stuff. I don't really have any real life bases for any of this. All I knew is that there was some oil traffic on the chili line. So I was like, well, fuck it. I gotta put a well jack, pump jack, and some sort of oil filling station. So that way at least I have some, the classic, Gramps tank cars, which were, ubiquitous throughout the Denver and Rio Grande system. I wanted to run them on this route, no matter what. I was building a narrow gauge route that was small and meant to be operated like a model railroad. There was part of me that wanted to really reenact that Doug Tag sold model railroad at the time and his Gramps tank car trains, and I was just fascinated with that. I still am to this day. If some may know of the series, some may not, of the Model Railroader Dream print. Wow, I can't speak today. We're just going to keep rolling with it, though. The Model Railroader Dream Plan Build series, which was it was kind of like a subscription series that people bought for. I don't know if it's still a thing. It very well could be, but at least during the 2010s, my dad was fairly invested into at least getting it. He was paying the subscription, so we still have in our collection the footage of Doug Tagsold's first model railroad. I believe it was HON3. Mostly Blackstone models, K27 operated Denver and Rio Grande system that he had rebuilt in his own vision. And that was largely inspiring to this route as well, although I don't necessarily model the Denver and Rio Grande in as much detail, or not even close to the same area. I think he modeled what is now the Cumbres and Toltec, and a section of the Durango and Silverton, if any. But I also, knowing it's New Mexico, there's going to be ranches, there's going to be cattle traffic, so I had to put in the old stock pen here. I kit bashed this a long time ago with some Zex fences and some other random crap, and to be honest, it's still like one of my favorite stock pens, dude. Like, I have not built a better stock pen. I should just start copying and pasting this throughout my other routes, but I see ways it could be improved in the modern era, but I ain't even touching it, bro. This shit was so good at the time. Keeping it. It's the perfect size for the area, too, so I'm still slightly proud of that. We got a little Victorian mansion here. I swapped in MSG Sappers Victorian mansions, even though they don't have LODs. I know, wow, it's fucking high poly. It's definitely going to be the downfall of me somewhere, but so far I'm still getting okay frame rates here, and I'm also trying to put in a lot of effort into LODing my own content. A lot of that, in saying that, is I'd like to go through the grasses and try to LOD stuff. That's possible. And I'm trying to LOD my sagebrush as best as I can. We're trying, but Trainz still has those creators who don't create LODs for very high LOD or high poly assets, and that's kind of I guess it's a feature and not a bug anymore, so I don't know how else to describe it. And of course, I'm sure my environmental settings right now are probably not the most ideal in some of these areas, but I'm kind of winging it. I'm trying not to pull up all these extra windows and bullshit, and trying to keep myself within range of the mic so that this audio isn't garbage. So here's probably the steepest grade on the entire route. I think it's up in 5. It's between 3 and 5%. Above 4, I believe, for the majority of it, and it is a pretty good climb for most locomotives. I find myself having to often use helpers, at least on this side of the chili line grade. But as we move on, follow up another creek here. Of course, pretty much every loop of this route follows some body of water. It's inescapable. It's just the way it is. It was the way I designed it, so. You got kind of the crest of the grade here. I'm still working on this, of course. Largely, this is what I would consider, in quotations, complete, but I need to change out this depot with something with a correct name, at least. I think it's remember what it was. Let's take a gander here. Camera work at its finest. Bear with me. Like I said, I'm kind of just winging it with the equipment I have handy, so. Yeah, Mount Princeton. Well, this definitely is not a mountain, so I'm gonna be renaming that. But anyways, this is the crest of the Chili Line grade. Quite a view as you watch the other side of the line snake its way up this hill here. It's kind of one of my favorite views on the route. You can just sit here and watch a train gain a large amount of elevation in not a large amount of time. That's kind of the fun of it being a model railroad. Is not a lot of stress in how much time it's going to take to get from one end of the route to the other. So pretty nice when you have other things to do in your day. At least to be able to run this route in that sense. And that's part of the reason I always enjoyed it when I was building it, and why I still love it today, even though it's taken me so long just to start doing some of these updates and upgrades. Yeah, it's quite the view, quite the little grade. I'm a fan of it, clearly. It's been completed for quite a while, or in quotations complete. I've gone through it a few times, and that's kind of just the way things are done. And here we are looking into Oke-Owenye, and I apologize if I've mispronounced this shit. Yeah, I don't know. I can't be perfect. I've tried my best to look these names up and look up their pronunciations, and I may not be spot on with some of them, so. But I'm trying my best. See what we can do. So this is the view into Oke-Owenye. I'm definitely a fan of it as well. This is just one of those sides of the routes that I can't believe how well it turned out. This was the last part of the route to get done originally. And at the time, once I had finished the yard here, I was kind of just like, well, shit, what do I do? And at the time, I was still trying to hold within that 4 baseboard limit that everybody had, or that I was trying to hold to. At the time, I mentally thought it was some sort of thing where a large amount of people would take on the idea that it would be some sort of competition at some point, or something like the original scenery competitions that were hosted back in the day. I don't even remember who hosted that, but that was a fun little deal that I made Patriot River Lines for. So, anyways, that's a side note. Anyways, I definitely am a fan of this view. One of my favorite towns I've made on any of my routes, honestly. And I've definitely gone through and edited a lot of details. If there are people who have visited the original route that this is based on, which is called Blackfoot, my original nomenclature or name choice for the route was kind of goofy. I was like, oh, I'll just make a ode to a creator who I had worked with, his route. And honestly, calling it Cripple Creek and San Juan makes a hell of a lot more sense, considering the whole bases for all of the scenes on this route. This really doesn't harken back to Blackfoot at all, if you remember those routes. I may be one of the few who does. I love those routes. It was a fun route, and that's why I named it after that route. But in time, I've come to the realization I should probably change the name. So here we are. But people who might recognize the original Blackfoot, obviously this town's going to look quite different. It's quite similar in size, but a lot more time has been put into like the actual detailing in the scenes. So I'm hoping that this will withstand till the release of the route without a whole bunch of extra work. I might have to update some lamps here and there, but that's kind of just the way things go in Trainz, huh? So I have to go through and update our assets. Hell, I've had to go through and update a lot of assets on this route that just either have crazy smoke trails and they're great buildings, super useful for a build like this. So I just create clone assets that have actual smoke pointing in the correct direction that don't use the meshes using the instancing system within Trainz. pretty useful, I think, at least for reviving old assets like this. But done that and fixed a couple of cadence, blowing. But at night, this route really doesn't. The immersion is still there. Unfortunately, a lot of it, you can still see cadence fences here. I believe that's cadence. They glow. I'll have to fix that. But clearly here, I mean, sheesh. The view. And part of the reason why I'm still in love with this route to this day, but means that it's able to create are nuts. Come from it, so moving from here, I think I will actually set the environment to a big shout out to Broem and T28 for the beautiful night lighting assets on this route. I've tried my best to use decent stuff, and I'm gonna have to go through and make some of my own lanterns as well, possibly, for structures at least. Although I've been making plenty good use of mics. Oh god, we have a steam locomotive escaping the shed. What the hell? There's some glitches going on here. Okay, whatever. We ain't gonna worry about that. We are not trying to provide a perfect simulation. I'm just trying to show this route off of me. So, yeah, I love these lights that Mike created. Wonderful job with that. Broem's tractors are just a beautiful feature on any route, but love having them on here. Quite the detail. So as we move on from Okeawenye, I'll kind of show some more angles here. I'm only out of town. Not a lot else to see. Did create this little scene over here. At the time that I was detailing this section of the route, I was scooting through what is it called? Royalty-free music, trying to find something that I could use for videos, which I still haven't done yet because I don't know how to fucking edit, and I don't own an editing program. So it's still not been utilized yet, but at the time I was listening to a song called Astronomer's Castle or something along those lines with astronomer in there. And then I saw Mick 1968 released this telescope object or asset, and I was just super keen to use it, just in combination with all that inspiration that I somehow got. I was just like, this is the perfect scene that needs to happen here, and this camera would really, it would be lovely if I could get the right angle. But the angle of the dangle is escaping me. Jesus Christ. Of course, I'm using a controller to move around my route here, so bear with me. I'm not exactly experienced with it. I'm learning as I go. But yeah, this is another one of my little favorite scenes that I enjoy on this route. It's just got something to it. I don't know what it is, but it's got some character to it that's separate from the route. It's got its own character. Anyways, as we come around the corner out of Okeawenye here, we pass a pretty large ranch house. Got an old coot and businessmen hanging out outside. Got the well there, some tents around for the cattlemen. Pretty nice little scene as well. I quite fancy it. Used Caden's barn here as well. It's a beautiful model. Pacific Northwesty. The crane jack, I guess one could call that, up front. I don't know exactly what else to call it, but very Pacific Northwest barn detail, alongside the fact that that is a log barn. Regardless, I love it. Really adds to the scene, I feel like. So as we move on here, past the ranch, up the creek. I'm just calling this Cripple Creek. You know, this is the Cripple Creek side of the route. Why not call it Cripple Creek, huh? I figured it made sense. So, we follow up Cripple Creek here. Quite a few scenes through here. I don't think there's time to show them all, to be honest. I'm already at 25 minutes. This is going to be a pretty long video just to show off what this route has to show, but there's quite a few scenes. Everything's still a work in progress. Got updates to make. So, definitely coming along. I'm definitely trying to put a lot of character into the route. Lots of little scenes that you might see on a model railroad. Good on a virtual model railroad. To me, this is virtual model railroading. Personally, can't afford the base, mostly, and the equipment, secondly, model railroad. And I'd also rather just use the space for metal fabricating equipment, personally. So, virtual model railroading is just, God, it's way more fun for me. So, why I do it, why I pursue it. We follow up the creek here, we kind of pass in through, I mean, there's numerous scenes. Got Old Coot here, got a log there, I don't even know, man. I just come through and add little things as I work on my route, so all kinds of little scenes develop, all kinds of character to them. And I love about this game, something that's incredibly addicting about it. Well, why I'm driven to it, I feel like. Genuinely create art with this stuff. I love that. Utilize it, and I mean, it's a very easy game to do such things with as well. There's quite a large community of content creators out there for this game. Quite a large back pile of content that's been created over, you know, the last 2 decades of its existence, maybe 3 decades now. No, it's just 2 decades, but nearing 3. And of course, we're continuing up Cripple Creek. This is the main Cripple Creek. And this is the most Cripple Creek of all the scenes. I would say, I don't know exactly what this would take after. To some extent, I would say the lineup Grand Forks. That's just the area that I think inspired me when I was doing this, but you know, it's all freelance. It's all just me cobbling scenes together to make a route that's enjoyable to run. Gridland. Though I've spent many a years in the Gridland expanses creating many a routes, haven't we all? And hopefully the formatting of this video isn't too annoying for people. I just don't really have any real editing software yet, and I'm still learning, so I'm just winging it with what I'm doing here, and hopefully it works to at least create a couple videos till I can figure out some sort of editing software, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. I hope to increase the quality of these update videos as we come along. But so now we're coming on to an area that I've been working on a lot more recently. So this part of the route is largely under construction. And we also don't worry about typos here. I definitely know I need to readjust some spelling on a town name here. But this is Pewaukee. I believe it's pronounced Pewaukee in the Tewa language. The meaning of Pewaukee is a gathering place of multiple waters, I believe, something along those lines. And I was like, well, hell, that works. That's a perfect description of this area. There's 2 creeks that come together, and large plethora of railroad lines, as well as quite a few mining operations. So it made sense to me. I went with it. And here we are. So this is a Shortline 2's Avon gold mining structure from the Gilpin area. Beautiful structure. This has been around forever. And it's time to finally introduce the name of this route, at least truly, and some of the explanation as to what it was originally. This route, at least in spirit, has been renamed after the Cripple Creek in San Juan. That was the first route that I had showed off on the Trainz forums that I had made, and that I was actually able to operate and enjoy. I actually truly enjoyed it as a Trainz model railroad, and that was awesome for me at the time. And I was very proud to be able to share these screenshots, and it was a good time for me at the time. And unfortunately, I had lost that route to a drive failure or a computer failure. I have had so many drive and computer failures follow me through the time that I have played this game. It's nuts, but when you really think about it, how many freaking just random hand-me-down laptops and desktop computers I've had, it makes a lot of sense how many of them burned up. So Cripple Creek and San Juan, what was it? Well, basically it was a very similar layout. It was a loop layout just like this, and it had the tracks lay back on itself kind of like this does, where it loops back and hides behind a mountain. That was the first time I used that technique, just on a small Trainz model railroad. And then I had a loop, which was Cripple Creek section. The other section was meant to represent mostly the Rio Grande, Southern, and Denver and Rio Grande, but to be honest, it was just generic narrow gauge with a Denver and Rio Grande depot. It was not anything crazy, I must admit. But the Cripple Creek section was one of my favorite spots, and one of my favorite structures on that route was this Avon gold mining structure. So I had to include it on this route when I was building it. Even though the name was Blackfoot, I think at the time I was definitely just referencing my old Cripple Creek in San Juan and just embodying that as I built. So that's why it is what it is. But yeah, I would say Pewaukee is definitely a work in progress. I still have a lot of work to do with ground textures here. I've got quite a bit to do. I have to change the actual spelling of the depot name, some little things here and there. But eventually, Pewaukee will be fully complete. Shouldn't take very long. I'm nearing my way out of Pewaukee now, working my way out of Cripple Creek. So this section is nearing completion. I unfortunately just lost some save progress of ground textures here. But oh well. I'll come back to it and make it better this next time. So I was more focused on trying to get a video recorded than saving my route. So here we are. I'm recording a fucking video. That's 33 minutes of me rambling so far. So any words, we're just going to keep on moving our way up the canyon here. So this is just more Cripple Creek. I'm just kind of goofing around with these new ESS rocks by our Trainz Forge contributors. Wonderful work on these. I want to say it's USS 1785, but I couldn't list that off the top of my head, so I apologize. You have done great work, my dude. Help a hell of a lot on routes like this. Any route, hell. Nice to have replacements for the old Trainz Italia rocks. So here we are passing through what used to be Shotgun Creek and is now Shotgun Bluff. I've done some slight mods from the original route here. I added a bridge for Creek. I just felt like it was necessary. I felt like there were too many dirt crossings and we needed a road bridge, so we added a road bridge. Obviously, it's been renamed Shotgun Bluff, well, because there's a bluff here. Pretty large bluff. Yeah, good old water tank. Probably one of my favorite spots on the route in general, just because of this water tank. Damn, you got some cool scenes. I love to steal them. Ain't that true? Of so many railroads. That's an SBC, South Pacific Coast bridge there, but ain't it beautiful? Anyways, we move our way up the canyon here. I haven't really done anything here. I cleared out all the original scenery and replaced the track and the track fill splines. That's been about it. It's pretty limited here. I added this kit bash trestle. Pain in the ass to build, but goddamn, did it turn out good. I'm so excited to use scenery in here. That's gonna be one of my favorite areas as well, I'm sure. So many assets that went into this that just work so well together. It's incredible. Love it. Great addition. Kind of Georgetown loopy, but it's definitely not the Georgetown Bridge. Not even close. It's actually kind of neat to see a steel narrow gauge structure like this that is curved. It's not quite that size. So as we move on up the mountain here, up this, I don't know, I think this is nearing 3.5% here, if not 4. It gets pretty steep right here. We have, I don't know what the name of this mine is going to be either, but it's another mine. Yeah, I have a depot for it across this cut for the road. More of a natural cut, but I don't know. The idea is I might either put a pedestrian bridge across here. I don't know. That might be a dumb idea. I haven't even looked into it yet. Or just, you know, add some paths, make it look like people use the railroad bridge. Makes enough sense. There is no space to put that depot here other than like way off from the main line. So I figured right here is kind of a neat little spot. Plus it's kind of a, I don't know. Hey, you're coming up on the tunnel. I don't know if I'm going to name it after the tunnel or after the mine. We'll figure that out yet. Right now it's named Alpine Tunnel. That's why I say it's kind of a nice little reminder that the tunnel's coming up. I'll also point out some of the extra work I've been doing here. Going through and adding my both my tunnel portal meshes and my tunnel bore splines, and I'm sinking them all into the ground, trying to make them all narrow gauge size. All my stuff for the most part is standard gauge size in terms of tunnel portals and tunnel bores, so I'm just kind of kit bashing that together, but I like it a lot. I like using that interior wood pattern. I don't know why. It just feels a little bit more supported. But I do need to go through and add PBR textures on that shit. Update it, make it like semi better looking, because it kind of looks like ass right now, so we need to upgrade from that. So now we're coming up on the town of, I don't entirely know yet, but I'm thinking of calling it Gopher Canyon. Bear with me on that. Probably going to call it Gopher Canyon. Why? Well, back in the day before I was even on the Trainz forums, there was this little group of people comprised that created Trainz narrow gauge content, and they had this little route called Gopher Canyon. For whatever reason, I followed it like crazy when I was a kid, and I was just like obsessed with it. And for some reason, I feel the need to point some sort of an ode to it in this project. And well, yes, Ophir Depot is used here. Why not name it Gopher? Fuck it, right? Simple as can be. Sometimes the simple answers are what you need. And obviously this is based loosely on Ophir. Very, very loosely. It has similar trestles, but not quite the same like loop trestle. I didn't want to do that here. I've never really done that, period. But I think it would be a cool thing to do on a route. This is another mine. This is probably the biggest on the route. It's still kind of a work in progress. I'm figuring out what I want to do with the general area and modernization of it, because obviously this is a modern-ish mine. I would say the prime time for this route would be the mid-1920s, which is what I'm modeling in sense. Call it the prime time. It wouldn't be completely void of traffic, and wouldn't be post-depression era, and also would still be narrow gauge and still be operational at the time. So simple enough. Hopefully my audio there didn't cut out too bad. I know I'm mumbling a little bit at this point in the video. A little tired. I have Crohn's, so I'm always tired. But yeah, this is one of the largest loadouts on the route. Provides most of the ore, most of the traffic, hell. And it's called the Panther Ore Company. Based on the Eagle ore sampler was like the primary structure I embodied, mostly because I used an MSTS convert structure in this area originally, and then I just decided to go on ahead and build my own that was pretty much the exact same thing, but turn it into a mine loadout rather than a sampler, because there are not enough mines on this route to actually produce or to necessitate a sampler. But something like this works out. It's a nice little setup. We got the mine office here. Hopefully it all works out. I'm not 100% certain about the mine office. I saw it in Darznovich's more recent releases, and I was like, oh, I want that shit. Pick that up. And, it seemed like a good idea for the area, but it does seem a little modern and a little big, so I'm going to debate that internally as I build. It's going to take me a while to get over here, but I'm hoping that I can do it eventually. So this is probably the biggest revamp on the route, like, biggest change of scene, because originally this canyon was mostly just a canyon with track through it. It didn't have anything special. Well, now we've got tunnels. We've got 2 fucking tunnels here, bro. We got 2 of them, and they're something. I still have to do a lot of work in this area, but I was really happy with how the rocks were coming out. Setup. Appreciate the suggestions that people have given me in this scenic area. Again, I apologize if my mumbling isn't getting caught on audio here. Kind of below, but I definitely appreciate the suggestions that have been given to me here. Very happy with how this area is turning out. I'm excited to do more work on it, but for some reason I feel more of a need to finish up off Cripple Creek before I do this. So, of course, this is the last mine, and also probably the most recent addition as well. I guess this could be added. This whole section, let's just say from Pewaukee through this canyon, is new. It really isn't based on the original route. I added this little mine here using some of Rico Mon 35's ore loadouts. And it turned out okay. I'm happy with it. It's very tight. It's a very tight curvature for that ore bucket to traverse, but I just wanted to make it work, so I did. We've got a little path going through the canyon, of course. Something I felt necessary to include, being a ranch down there, and this is not long after the mass adoption of automobiles, but horses were a main mode of transportation for a large portion of time, and obviously these trails would have been a main mode of transportation for a lot of people on their way up that couldn't afford a train ticket, or couldn't get a train ticket because they weren't going up at the right time. So the way she is. But yeah, this is the newest edition. It's just another mine. This one's meant to be a coal loadout. Another one's gold. I don't know about the sampler over there. I've been loading it with gilp and gold ore, but I really don't know. And the same for the other. None of these minerals are necessarily set in stone until I set it in stone. I'm sending it. I am winging it with everything. But that's okay. That's what I do, and it's what I've done for a long time, I guess. So we just keep on winging it, right? But yeah, we've kind of come back to the Grand Forks area of Cripple Creek, if you want to call it that. The fork of Gopher Creek. Gopher Creek. Cripple Creek. But as we move on here, we come into Wenye, and I will show off some of the motive power that I have. I would say modified for this route. I'm not I create structures. I'm not necessarily a locomotive or rolling stock guy by any means. So, it's just, hold on here. We got some complications apparently in the camera modes. We're cooking. We are cooking all of a sudden. Alright, let's... I want to be able to control the fly cam. Alrighty. So, give a little introduction here into the E1s. The E1 is just meant to be the workhorse of this route. I took Train Boy 1's 1024 E3 mesh with permission from the man himself, and went on ahead and modified out this Colorado and Southern, somewhat C16 themed model, and I'm quite happy with it. I'm very thrilled just to have a steam locomotive that I've put a lot of time into, a lot of my own effort into, have that in-game and be able to operate it. It's quite the feeling, but it's also, it's nice to have my own individualistic locomotives for this route as well. So, huge thanks to Dan and the rest of the Trainz Forge guys for all the help that they did in terms of just helping me get this shit in game. It was a challenge, and I learned a lot of new things in this process, so I'm very happy with the end result, and I would love to see more steam locomotives out of myself, but we'll see what time will provide. I don't have a whole lot of time for it, and I've only got a fair few diagrams that I actually want to pursue, so I don't have a whole lot of directives. I'm not going to get lost in the steam locomotive world, but I'm absolutely getting lost in the sauce of structure creation and creating all kinds of random garbage that I need to finish. It's just the challenge of Trainz content creation. Now, I want to get into NRS1, which was a project that I picked up beginning of this year. I wasn't necessarily intending to go down a narrow gauge path this year with my projects, but it just kind of so happened that that's what happened. And I picked up this little project. I'm still extremely gratified. I don't know if that's the right term. Just to be able to have the opportunity to make something like this is fucking awesome. I used a bunch of parts from my RS3 build and basically slapped them together into a Fairbanks horse shaped Alco powered narrow gauge locomotive. The trucks had to be custom built. I didn't entirely expect that going into it. The Adams trucks on the UN-15, which this was originally based off of as like a template, I guess, he had scaled down the AARBs, but he had made it look so believable that I thought that they were just regular AARBs. So I originally went into this with just like straight thinking AARBs would fit under this thing, and they do not. There is no way an AARB will ever fit under this thing. But at the end of the day, I did create some pretty fucking cool trucks that are pretty similar to AARBs, but are most definitely their own thing, and would definitely be an Idaho Car and Foundry special item, which I think is kind of neat too. But these don't have a cab view yet. They're just kind of a simple diesel locomotive. But I do have plans to put a cab mode in them. That's going to be pretty crazy, man. Some of the narrow gauge routes out there, exploring those in cab mode on this thing. Nuts. But I'm still just getting used to that steam locomotive over there that I finally got in game. I don't even know how it's going to be with this thing. Already quite the addiction, so gotta just take my steps as I can. But yeah, so I'm happy with how this is coming out. I do hope to include at least these two locomotives with the route. Whether or not they're freeware or payware, I can't necessarily confirm. I'm pretty sure that I'm leaning towards freeware, but don't quote me. So that's all I'm gonna say on that for now. Definitely don't quote me. I am a broke bitch, so we doing all this YouTube stuff and all this Trainz content creation stuff for a reason. I'm a little, I don't know, my disability causes employment to be kind of a challenge, so 'tis the way she goes. I won't get into that here, but it's something I could get into. Not something I really would aim to do, though. I don't really need a sympathy video, so. Anyways, we'll move on to the last little thing that I've done for this route so far, which are these 2-bay ore hoppers based on Train Boy 1's standard gauge ore hopper mesh. They're a PSC model. And you know, the first time I set these down in Trainz, the first thing I thought was, Jesus Christ, that thing is literally narrow gauge size. I should just convert that. And lo and behold, somewhere along the line in this project, I felt like I needed hoppers, and it was time. So I swapped them over. Running some Togog trucks here for now. I honestly really like them. They're pretty decent detail for what they are, and they do the job. They are the right strength for these cars, so it should help out a lot. I definitely have a little bit of modification to do on the actual frame of these cars to actually make it like a little bit more stable physically. I don't think people that aren't engineers are going to notice what I'm talking about, but personally, I'm not an engineer, but I know a few things about metal, to say the least. So, yeah, I got some mods to make on these, but we'll see if I can make them in time. That may be a post-release mod, I don't know. Aside from that, I reskinned a Togog caboose right here. Don't know if I'm going to be able to release that. Wish that I could, but if I can't, I can't. That's just the way it is. Damn, ain't that a beautiful scheme. Ain't that a beautiful logo, man. Very CNS, you know, just hinting at it. So, yeah, aside from that, that is the Cripple Creek in San Juan as she sits right now. I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of stuff planned, and I'm hopeful for the future with this route and releasing it, to the community for once. Most of my routes have been private, but this is something that I would be willing to try to release publicly. So I definitely have the need to do that at this point in my life. So away she goes. But thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you sticking along. If you stuck along all hour of this, I definitely appreciate you sticking along, and if you've been able to put up with my incoherent rambling, well, thank you. I apologize. It's I have no idea what I'm saying 90% of the time, so I'm kind of winging it. But, you know, this whole fucking video was an example in winging it. But, you know, we fucking send her.